Kevin O'Leary, Doge isn't whacking enough with cuts. We're gonna talk about some of these lies from Doge in general. The Doge team is finally posting examples of where they've cut spending. This one claims $8 billion in savings, bottom figure, but if you look at the fine upper print, the contract instead is valued at $8 million. What did they even cut? They cut U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Investigations and Operations Support Dallas, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Equal Employment Opportunity Funding Office. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Once again, lying is OP. Lying, especially due to incompetence, is doubly OP, because when you are stupid, you don't even realize you're lying, which makes it easier for you to lie. Okay? Because if you're like aware that you're lying, that's going to be kind of difficult. That requires you to at least demonstrate some semblance of skill. When you know what the truth is, okay, it makes it more difficult to lie. If you're stupid and you're lying, you can believe the lie, okay? You can believe the false information. Anyway, here's a momentum chaser that we were going to look at. After several delays, Doge has finally posted its purported savings. Why did it take so long to create a simple web page with a 1,000-row table? Who knows? Let's dig in. Headline number, $55 billion saved. They list the savings per next contract. This should be easy to verify then. First thing I did is add up the saved column for all canceled contracts and real estate. The numbers are $16.5 billion and $0.14 billion, respectively. Odd. Since almost all the purported savings come from contracts, we'll focus on that. Single biggest ticket item is a DHS contract listed at saving $8 billion. Wow, that's a huge contract. Actually, no, it's $8 million. They must have tried to automate scraping the FPDS form and failed. That means we're down to $8.5 billion in savings. So they claim $16 billion in savings, okay? And it turns out it's not. It's just, I guess, across the board, $8 billion. Boom, half of it is gone. The next three biggest ticket items are all U.S. aid contracts listed at $655 million each, so $2 billion total. Wow, pretty big. Wait, these are IDVs, not contracts. $655 million is the entire set-aside, being triple counted. In the first 5 years, only $73 million was awarded. Only 2 years remain. That's the other side of the story. They were like, oh, the CFPB. The CFPB's entire budget allocation is $1 billion. But how much of that $1 billion budget has the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, utilized so far? $200 million, which means they haven't used $700 million of their budget yet, more than $700 million. When you cut the CFPB, the saving is not $1 billion in that regard. It's also really stupid because the CFPB obviously has returned more than $20 billion back to the consumers with a mere $200 million of expenditure. Okay? Claim $55 billion, show $16 billion, actually $8 billion if you lose your eyes on the biggest thing. No, it's going to get worse than that. So we're down to $6.5 billion in savings, and an alarming trend emerges. Doge does not seem to understand how the government contracts they are canceling work. The savings they are claiming are not annual savings, but rather hypothetical savings if we spend every unobligated penny. And more importantly, they are just getting it wrong with alarming consistency. These numbers are erroneous. This select group of geniuses has not double-checked even the largest items accounting for the bulk of their claimed savings. This is a sad, pathetic farce. Here's the next biggest item. An IT services contract for the Social Security Administration worth $1 billion. That's a lot of savings. Well, again, this contract spans 6 years. 80% has already been spent. Well, more like $240 million in savings spread over the next 3 years. $80 million a year. That's assuming it's not deliberate. No, I think you guys are attributing malice to how unimaginably incompetent these people are. I don't think that I think that the negligence is malicious. Certainly, like their lack of care is due to malice, but you have to understand that they are legitimately stupid. Okay, this is not to abdicate them of responsibility or morality. Because the end result is still the same. People getting fired, people being misinformed. But it 100% is also incompetence. Okay? Incompetence is, in my opinion, playing a major role here. This is kind of like here, I'll give you an example of Israel. Okay? Israel's operations inside of the Gaza Strip. There is a breakdown of command with respect to appropriate kill targets in the Gaza Strip. But that chaos and that disorder is actually deliberate. Okay? That chaos and disorder is deliberate because what they want to do is create killing fields. And if you were to actually try to directly tell people to go out and engage in killing fields, well, then you don't have plausible deniability. So a lot of Israeli operations always look very incompetent, like when they've shot the convoy of the World Central Kitchen aid workers, right? But the real reason why that happened is because there is a breakdown in command that is deliberate, because they have corridors where they engage in mass killing. It doesn't matter. That is because the overarching goal of the entire government's military operation there is to engage in as much killing as possible. Okay? They are weaponizing incompetence. It kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier. It's easier to lie if you are too stupid to understand that you're lying. It's easier to lie if you're too stupid to recognize that the information you're working with is incorrect. Okay? The difference here, however, is that they have no interest in correcting the record. Okay? Like, this isn't like a oopsie, we got this wrong, but we'll fix it. It's more so, oopsie, we got this wrong. Everyone is yelling at us, but what the fuck are they going to do about it? Because the outcome is still the same. Do you understand what I mean here? It's not necessarily that, like, this is being done because they're deliberately going, ooh, let's just add an extra zero to this contract to make it seem like we actually eliminated so much more of the debt than we actually did, right? They're not doing this in that vein, I guess. And so many less people will hear about the mistake portion of it. Yeah, partially because of how information echo chambers work nowadays online, especially with like the blossoming revolution of independent media. There are a million different outlets where you can get opinions that you want to hear masquerading as the truth. Okay? It creates additional permission cycles for false information to present itself as the reality. It creates an environment where people turn around and go, well, these guys are independent content creators. This guy's not even a political commentator at all. And he's also saying how great it is that the government is actually reducing so much of this like ridiculous expenditure that they were spending on, I don't know, gay autism research or whatever, or gay autism vaccination initiatives or whatever. And then every single day, we just move further and further away from the truth. In 2023, this contract funded 1,000 FTEs working $100 an hour. Did we need 1,000 SWEs working on SSA infrastructure? Probably not. These could be valid savings. Disclaimer, no idea what they actually did. But worth noting that these cuts will impact many private sector jobs as well. SWEs, not SVEs. And if anyone is curious, there are currently 17 lines that say CFPDS rather than the savings amount. I guess because their automated scraping failed. I did it manually and it took roughly 10 minutes, but that's too much of an ask for super geniuses working 120 hours a week. If you look at the website, there's a toggle between contract value and savings, and so many of the savings line items are $0. A quote tweet in regard to the employee Social Security. I went and looked at the publicly available contractual documents, probably closer to 2K employees in various roles. The contract sounds like it's the entire information technology department for the Social Security Administration. This will absolutely be a lawsuit. Motherfuckers are too dumb to understand government fund accounting. There's a reason it's a special topic in the accounting field, much like medical and construction accounting are. Yes. This is yet another instance where, like, there is a very deliberate, very real reason why there's highly specialized fields here. Because most people don't understand the data that they're looking at. Now, this person is not a government accountant, as far as I understand. You know, he's just some random guy, right? And even some random guy can call out a bunch of these inconsistencies. Why are we pretending they care to be accurate? They're not. That's my point. They're not pretending to be accurate. They don't care. They're not even trying to pretend to be accurate. They're just throwing numbers out, knowing full well that there is no way to counter this kind of misinformation. Okay? That's simply it. There are very few outlets that are like actively trying to correct the record. And even then, it is very difficult. It is very difficult for them to do that because this is an unlimited faucet. Okay? It's an unlimited faucet of misinformation, like Twitter, for example. What's weird about the situation is that, yes, of course, is there a lot of bloat in the federal government? Obviously. I mean, look at the DOD. Jesus Christ. Having said that, however, every competent Democrat should currently be matching up the FAA layoffs and the linking up with like the unions involved in every part of air travel to constantly say, look at all the planes that are falling out of the sky. Do you really want less people working on your safety? Every Democrat should be saying this. Okay? Every Democrat should be saying this and constantly pairing up the Republican agenda of austerity with death and destruction. Okay? They should be doing that. This would be effective communication. Okay? This would be effective communication. I'm banning this guy that said this guy is just unbelievable and the press just lets him lie. Partially because I don't even know if he's talking about Elon Musk, even though the account was created 26 minutes ago and he's been following since 14 minutes ago. So it's most likely a bot account and he's talking about me. But it's pretty funny for him to say this. So I look forward to more. Brilliant takes from that guy. I'm a sniper. Looking from Eastern Europe, while I know what is happening in the U.S., but here in the East, this was all the talk. Austerity, pulling ourselves from our bootstraps, etc. And some of that bloat is necessary because you can't hyper-optimize the government. Shit happens. Healthcare is the biggest one that comes to mind. You let them off the hook when you chalk it to incompetence. It is deliberate. No, it is weaponized incompetence, okay? I'm just simply stating what I think is the truth. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they're not particularly brilliant, okay? They're not. These guys aren't like brilliant geniuses who are like, ooh, let's just lie deliberately. No, I think a lot of this can be explained with them trying to scrape the data and doing a piss poor job at it, okay? Courts are not going to save us. For some reason, it went to the judge who saved Trump too. Just in, Judge Tanya Chutkan denies a request for temporary restraining order, TRO, which would block Elon Musk's access to certain government systems and limit DOGE's capabilities and make changes in reducing government spending. Chutkan writes, plaintiffs have not carried their burden of showing that they will suffer imminent irreparable harm absent a temporary restraining order. Therefore, plaintiff's motion is denied. 14 states represented by their attorney general have filed an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Elon Musk, the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency DOGE Service, U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization, and President Trump. The emergency motion, based on the parties' briefing, oral argument, and the current record, the court finds the plaintiffs have not carried their burden of showing they will suffer imminent irreparable harm absent a temporary restraining order. Judge Chutkan goes on to say that the possibility that defendants may take action that irreparably harm plaintiffs is not enough. What is imminent irreparable harm if not losing your job? It goes even beyond that. It's imminent irreparable harm that people will lose their jobs for no reason. Okay, so there is plenty of imminent irreparable harm. But of course, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Because guess what? Judge decided, nobody cares. On the record before it, the court cannot conclude that plaintiffs satisfy the high standard for irreparable injury. By the way, there was no standing for the court case that made its way all the way to the Supreme Court when the conversation was around Joe Biden abolishing student loan debt. There was no standing for that, okay? And yet, seemingly enough, it made its way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court actually favored the people that brought the court the decision to begin with, or allowed the Supreme Court to make this decision to begin with. Yeah, no standing, but it didn't matter. They still stopped the Biden administration from doing something that is within his powers, okay? Which was to permanently throw to the future all matter of student loan debt, engaging in universal student loan debt relief. Do you love the Supreme Court? No, I do not. One was a private student loan debt collector that wanted the loan forgiveness. Yeah, there was no standing because they actually sidestepped the actual harmed parties. The Supreme Court does this all the time. They don't care in terms of like Like, not having standing doesn't stop them from taking on certain court cases. They will overlook that fact, or they'll act like there is standing. It's ultimately a political decision, is my point. It's never a decision truly born out of a real legal disagreement. There's some copium out there about the judge just being pedantic about the legal standards between a TRO and a preliminary injunction, that she might rule in favor of a preliminary injunction after more discovery. Yeah. Chuckin wrote that if she were considering the merits, Musk's position likely violates the appointments clause. These people believe in formal legal rules, so I wouldn't read too much into the denial of the TRO. Okay, well, I don't know enough about Judge Tanya Chutkin's background. Okay? I think that would be more instructive in terms of what her look, what is more instructive for you to understand, like, where a certain how a certain judge will decide. If you want to truly understand, like, what's more instructive, look to who appointed them or what their allegiances are. So if they're an Obama appointee, then it's not copium. Then there might be a separate case. If they are even a Trump appointee, sometimes they still think certain Trump administration decisions are a bridge too far. What is a TRO? A temporary restraining order. To me, this reads like a district court judge that doesn't want to be successfully appealed on a record that wouldn't be shaky to grant a TRO. Nominative determination. Her name is Chudkin, R.I.P. Okay, fair. The court in the past 3 years literally said the situation you brought forth didn't actually happen, but just in case it did, we rule in the favor of the Republicans. It was insane. Yeah, there are instances like with the abortion, with the contraceptive ban, like the contraceptive trafficking ban, that literally had no standing because there were no victims. Okay, it was a hypothetical victimhood that allowed them to take on this case. It's ridiculous. Okay, like, that's ridiculous. They just made it up, and they've done it before too. But it's extra crazy because, like, this instance does have immediate harm. Yeah, the 303 creative wedding website case. That was another one that's famous as well for that. Anyway, it was like the late. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It was like the lady that made a website for a gay couple, but it was actually she never did. But the Supreme Court still took on the case. This isn't standing. It's irreparable harm. Can't be remedied by compensation later. No, it doesn't. This mean that there's no. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. I'm not the best at. Is there a difference between this two? Like, saying that plaintiffs do not carry the burden of showing that they will suffer imminent irreparable harm absent a temporary restraining order. Is there a difference between that versus like what it means when they say that there is no standing? Call Lolo. I can't call him right now. Please stop. I am no big city lawyer. I thought that's what standing implied. Standing is different. I'm a lawyer. Okay, thank you for all of the... I watched 9 seasons of Suits. Hold on, let me get my glasses. It's a higher burden of proof, not whether they can bring a case or not. Standing is being able to bring the suit in the first place. Yes, but in terms of standing, like when they make an argument as to why this should be brought forth to the courts, the argument needs to prove that there is irreparable or immediate harm, right? Like, isn't that the same exact argument? The harm for standing doesn't have to be imminent and it's a lower standard is what you're saying. Or not a lower standard, just a different standing. You need injury in fact, causation, and remedy. I haven't read this complaint, but maybe it's an element to bring the suit. Temporary restraining order has a higher standard. The immediate / irreparable harm is the standard for a temporary restraining order. Am a lawyer. No, it's different. A TRO would stop the offending action. Judges saying that anything done without the TRO would be able to be fixed afterwards. They aren't in danger of permanent harm. But wouldn't there be enough if people are about to get fired unjustly? Wouldn't that be permanent harm? Is this because it was the states that brought it? But it's identical to the same to the instance where right-wing attorney generals brought forth the student loan debt relief case. No, you can always back pay technically, no perma harm. They can get reimbursed for lost wages. The imminency, irreparability of the harm is what makes it more technically. It's not the same as bringing the case to trial, but instead enjoining them from acting. Then you'd be able to do a TRO for any merger or layoff. I mean, shouldn't you be able to do a temporary restraining order if there was like a completely ridiculous layoff happening? Like, wouldn't a union be able to do a temporary restraining order? I guess not. Monetary harm is usually the standard, except in criminal cases. The plaintiffs have standing to bring the suit. If they didn't, the judge would have thrown out the case. It got rejected because they failed to meet the burden of proof for a temporary restraining order. These are all pretrial motions that are asking for court action before the case has been heard, so the burden of proving irreparable harm is very high. Oh, got it. We're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine as well, but before we get to Russia and Ukraine, there was a couple other things I wanted to talk about with this DOGE. So we're going, unfortunately for all of you, back to Scott Jennings.
An agency that doesn't have a bloat of administrative personnel that we could probably do without. And I think that's why a lot of voters are happy that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are finally going through the federal government and trying to take out some of this bureaucracy that we probably just don't need. So I'm reading to you what Sean Duffy says. He's the Secretary of the Transportation. I have no reason to doubt his numbers.
Karen, when you hear this, I mean,
yeah, he knows best. Scientists, woke and gay, they don't know best when they're talking about their specific field of research. Sean Duffy, television personality, well, he's the transportation secretary, so he knows best. Okay? Yeah. Pete Hegseth, well, guess what? He's leading the DOD. I don't see you leading the DOD. He's not a DEI candidate. He's a DUI candidate. Okay? That's right. He knows best.
Look, Americans are concerned about bloat in the federal government. They have been for a very long time. What do you make of how it's been meted out?
So the concern that I think a lot of Americans have, we can all agree there's bloat. We can all agree that we need to deal with that. At the same time, what we're seeing is speed for the sake of creating momentum, to create a sense of things are happening. At the same time, look what happened Friday. We had nuclear scientists fired, and then they said, oops, we need those people because they have a technical skill that nobody else has. So the problem that I have with the way they're doing it is, and I went to the DOGE website to see if they would say anything about, look, we are conducting this process to make sure we don't harm American safety, their health, or take money out of their wallets. They don't say that. And we're finding out the consequences and the impact of some of these things. If you're a doctor for the VA in the Midwest and you're told you're going to be...
This is a problem born out of not having any principled leftists on any number of different mainstream outlets. Okay? Understand, the automatic position of the most quote unquote like anti-Trump liberal on the panel should not be that it's definitely for the greater good that we're engaging in mass layoffs in the federal government. Okay? You shouldn't be playing catch up. Your first position should be that there is no reason to engage in layoffs at a time when we should probably be hiring more people. Okay? But because their underlying worldview is unfortunately so similar to the Republican worldview in terms of maximizing efficiency, okay, they start the position by saying, no, there is actually reason to like fire a bunch of government employees. They're just not doing it right, and they're firing the wrong people. No, that's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, what the are you doing? We need more people working, not less. Okay? That should be your starting position. And then you work your way up to that argument, which is that, and here is why it's really stupid when you engage in these sorts of idiotic layoffs, because obviously you're eliminating a bunch of positions that were, or eliminating the positions of a bunch of government employees that were working on really important things. Okay? That's why it was so frustrating for me when I saw Ro Khanna start off by being like, well, Bill Clinton did a fantastic job eliminating 400,000 federal government employees, but he did it by working with Congress. It's like, that's not, like, why are you presenting that as a good thing? Don't you realize that the underlying ideology there, the underlying premise that you're operating off of is that it is a good thing to fire government employees? How is this in any way, shape, or form an adequate counterbalance to the Republican neoliberalism? This is why I say, and many others say correctly, that the Democrats are also neoliberal.
Be fired, or you're waiting for this, court to play out. What are you supposed to do with your client who is the veteran who's got PTSD? Are you trying to find them someone else to go see because you're not sure if you're going to be there in 2 weeks, or are you assuming you'll be spared because someone will figure out that it's probably not smart to get rid of doctors who are at the VA who may be working on a critical function? So that's the concern. I think this could have been done with a lot more thoughtfulness about how do we protect people's safety. Even if you said, look, we're going to take 2 weeks at each agency and try to do some kind of rubric to make an assessment, not putting it into an AI system, by the way, which is some of what we've read that they've done. And I think what we're going to find is a number of these oops moments that could be dangerous.
I just think they need to read the.
Don't you only fire government employees when your economy's in the and you're producing as much as you should? Sure, it will work in Argentina, but why is it being done in the U.S. with very competent workers? First of all, it's also not good in Argentina either. I don't think it's good in Argentina either. I don't think austerity is a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. If it was a good thing, we wouldn't enforce it upon the entirety of the global South. It's just wild because now we're accelerating it to our and doing it to ourselves. We've always, one might say, Republicans have always engaged in this sort of thing, but never to this degree.
Room. I mean, there have been 3 major plane crashes in just, less than a month. One of them was just a few blocks from the high school I went to in Northeast Philadelphia. And, tell that to the little boy with the metal in his head, trying to protect his sister during that plane crash. I think that not only do you have to protect the safety of Americans physically, but I think you have to protect our safety mentally. We see you laying off people from the FAA. At this point, nobody at the FAA is dispensable. I think you have to keep everybody there at least, for the time being, because we've had these major plane crashes that you haven't seen in 16 years.
Kevin, the optics of this is what you're referring to.
I think the issue is they're not whacking enough. There's this concept in private equity when you get a bankrupt.
God, I mean, how can people look at this guy and not see him as anything but a villain, dude? First of all, you're Canadian. Excuse me, ICE, this bald right here, okay? What is his productive output on U.S. soil? You know what I mean? Get this guy out of here. Pack him up. What the hell is this? Send his ass back to Canada. Ugh. Yeah, I'm going to Laken Riley act his ass. I'm going to be like, I saw him stealing a bag of Skittles. Deport him, please. Yeah. I saw him getting in a boat again. Arrest him, officers. You know what he has done in boats in the past. And this time his wife wasn't even in the boat. So he got no one else to blame this time, okay? Same guy.
Wealth, this according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people.
Yeah, dude. I'm a child born in Rwanda, okay, with a genetic disorder. I can't wait to look up to the 1% and feel the aspirational goals. I'm feeling my bootstraps right now. I can't see with my eyes. I'm feeling with my hands the bootstraps that I will be tugging on. Fantastic. Psychopath, dude.
Well, I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news.
Yeah, low key, think he's helping with the cause with shit like this. Let him cook. No, dude. You want to know why? I used to think that too. But these past couple of years, like especially with Elon Musk getting a prominent position in the government, has caused me to realize that no, actually, people don't realize how stupid these dudes are. They don't realize how evil these dudes are. They just genuinely think it's God ordained, and they deserve the position that they have in society. I'm not even kidding. Like, Like poor hogs love this shit, dude. They love this shit. Americans are incredibly servile. Absolutely. Absolutely, dude. Oh my God. They cannot imagine. They cannot imagine looking at a guy like this and thinking that's a villain. That's an evil villain. He's doing evil villain talk right now.
News, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
Yes, really.
So somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation
Only
everybody
thing
needs.
between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
She's right. She should cooked his ass. Damn, look at the CBC, bro. Yeah. Someone living on $1 a day in Africa is gonna look up to Bill Gates and be like, "Thank God, one day, me too." Only thing you hear that? Hey guys, if you live in the global South and your government has been destabilized actively or propped up by the Western forces, okay, and you're working in horrifying conditions every day, you just didn't aspire hard enough. You don't have that Sigma grind set, dude.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks.
I am not.
Wait, I don't have socks.
Look, don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen. Okay?
You know what? You take a simple stat like this, which is neither good nor bad. It's just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen. I tell kids every day,
Bro, this is literally like if we did not have an entirely captive, entirely servile population, this is basically the same as the let them eat cake. Okay, this is a let them eat cake statement, straight up. And don't come in here and tell me, actually that quote is incorrect or whatever. Okay, it serves the same purpose. Okay, it serves the same goddamn purpose. He literally said, by the way, the 3.5 billion people living in poverty, like the top however many people have as much wealth as the bottom 3.5 billion, that number has worsened. Or if you're Kevin O'Leary, it's gotten way more fantastic. Okay, Mr. Fantastic. Just so you understand, wealth has consolidated in the hands of even less people now. I think the last Oxfam number is something like the top 3 people have as much money as the bottom 50%. It's no longer even 85 people. It's now like 3. Asking my landlord to raise my rent to motivate me to grind more next month. Yeah, Sigma grind set, baby.
I'm just gonna.
What's wrong with
comes
this?
up at a cocktail party.
No, Amanda. What's wrong with this statement?
One possible response
if you
to it.
work hard, you might be stinking rich.
We're talking about people in extreme abject poverty.
Correct. 3 richest dudes in the U.S. have more money than the bottom 50%. Oh my God.
That's how you get $3.5 billion.
No, we're not. You were just talking
in
about
this
really
category.
rich people.
No.
Oh my God, I hate this person so much. I have so much disdain in my heart for him and just all of these guys.
Company, and you go in there, you cut 20% more than your initial read. And then you find like a pool of mercury, the organization gels back together again.
You hear stuff like this. You don't, be honest. You hear this douchebag, okay, say stuff like that, and you don't even for a moment think imagine if there was a competent government that just sent him to the countryside for a little bit to toil the land. Really? You don't think that? You're lying if you don't think that. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that's the best possible way to go about it. Okay? Many different methods exist. Seizing his assets. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, that's funny. That's cool, man. Oh, you think poor people deserve less? You think it's awesome that hundreds of thousands of federal government employees are about to be, hi, are you still pro-terrorism? Hi, checking in here. Are you still pro-terrorism? That's so funny. Don't ban this guy. Anyway, it's extra funny because I was in the process of talking about like sending this guy to the countryside and this dude is like, hi, are you still pro-terrorism? Anyway, it's rehabilitation, okay? It's rehabilitation. That's what I'm an advocate for. Expropriate is the most beautiful word in the English language. Maoist Trump. JD Pondon. Tariffs are no longer the most beautiful word in the English language. Believe me, it's expropriation. There can be no end to exploitation of the American working class without Expropriation. Anyway,
Always cut deeper, harder when there's fat and waste.
if that's the case, why don't we take away all your wealth and then make you start from square one again? I mean, after all, you've done it once, you can do it again, right? And also, it's super simple, right? It'll make you grind harder, Kevin. I think that's what we should do. We should hit a reset real quick, you know? Dude, think about how much motivation he will have if he has nothing, okay? The less you have, the more aspirational you are. Get back in the grind, dog. You should be excited. Oh,
FAA, it's not the people. The code is cobalt. It's from the 60s. It needs CapEx put into it for the technology to be upgraded to make it safer. Fat like a chicken. All of these agencies are like big fat chickens dripping over barbecues of fat. This is the best barbecue I've ever seen, but I don't think it's happening fast enough. They're not cutting enough. Keep slashing,
cobalt.
keep hacking while you have a
yeah. The new old coding system, Cobalt.
24-month mandate before the
At least he got close enough, dude. I don't even think Elon knows what that is. Okay, for the record, at least he got close enough to saying sounding it out almost correctly. Close enough. Okay, I know it's Cobalt. All I'm stating is Elon doesn't even know what that is. That's how low the standards are.
terms. Cut, more cutting. Believe me, it's going to work out just great. Everybody
Even
should be
people with
happy
the
about
nuclear
this.
codes, cut them too.
Cut everything. Because if you don't see what they're doing and they can't show you that they're adding value, you whack.
But
It's not clear that
Go
they're
ahead.
even asking people to show us what you're doing. Again, this was a story Friday, and literally Elon said, "Oops, we gotta rehire them because nobody knows how to do what these people know how to do."
Yeah, the
And he
nuclear
admitted-
thing. Okay, it gets it wrong once in a while. Big deal. So what?
I agree
That's
with that.
10% of the time.
It's okay. I actually think it's okay if they run into a stumble here or there because the project is so massive. The need to cut is so massive. The government is so massive. It's inconceivable that you wouldn't make a mistake here or there. But I think that's acceptable if the greater goal is achieved, which is a smaller government, more efficient government,
even if someone,
trim the fat.
even if someone dies, or even if someone, because
Are
we're
you
talking
alleging that
about.
someone has died from this?
We don't know. I'm talking about when the rubber meets the road. I'm talking about, for example, Kansas City, 30,000 government employees might be laid off. It will destroy the economy of Kansas City. That's okay.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm reading what the individuals from Kansas City have been saying, that they're very concerned.
What do you think
if
they're going to
30
say when they're going to get
Of
whacked?
course they're going to say that. But my point is, do we think that's smart
Does
to
the-
live in an American city just go under?
How many American cities need a massively oversized federal government to stay afloat? I mean, isn't that
Again-
says more about the city than the government?
But when
should
did we
we
get to the
smart?
point where presidents are measuring themselves by how many people they put out of work instead of how many people they get
Not
jobs
a
for?
moment too soon.
Yeah,
Not a
this
moment
is
too
crazy.
soon.
This is
because
absolutely-
the
and if
government
they're-
only
and if
ever
they're
gets
big
bigger.
fat
Yeah, of course. Oh, God. I hate this. I hate this so much because under normal circumstances, everyone should understand the position that he's advocating for, which is mass layoffs. He doesn't have to care about it because his job relies on him being careless about that sort of thing. He probably doesn't have any immediate family members that will be impacted by this. Okay? This is at the heart of so much of the conservative commentary, just being a smug, out of touch asshole. Incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating.
chickens,
smaller.
hopefully they lay some eggs and maybe then we can afford it.
This strikes me as something that was done just for the sake of doing. And I think it
I
was,
already talked about this before with Alabama, the state of Alabama. In the state of Alabama, the University of Alabama is the second largest hiring body in the entire state. Okay, public sector jobs that'll be lost in that process. Okay, they rely on those grants. Cut those grants, you have to cut those jobs. A lot of those people that are being cut on the overhead side are going to not necessarily be woke and gay college professors or whatever, even though that's also ridiculous, right? To cut those jobs is also ridiculous. But they are going to be, janitorial staff and things like that. Okay.
It was a tone-deaf move. It wasn't a big enough cut to do anything. It was a completely tone-deaf move. I mean, I find people are always interested in efficiency as long as it doesn't affect them. And it's strange to me that we got enough people to go and ride around the racetrack.
Yeah, that's not just the case in Alabama. It's almost every state public sector is a top employer.
Behind the presidential limousine and such, and to guard 3 residences. And we're never cutting people from there. But to come now and make sort of a tone-deaf move to cut the FAA is again, this is an image thing, and they want to be seen as doing something.
Now to President Trump and Elon Musk's latest moves to reshape the federal government. The top Social Security official stepped down after Musk's team requested access to sensitive personal data about millions of Americans. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking it from Mar-a-Lago. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning to you. And this is just the latest official to leave after clashing with Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency. And it comes as federal workers are bracing for more layoffs and firings today.
Elon Musk has got to go.
Overnight, protests popping up in cities across the country.
Where is Congress?
Hundreds demonstrating against President Trump and Elon Musk as they push forward with changes to shrink the size of the federal government. ABC News learning the top Social Security official has stepped down after clashing with the Department of Government Efficiency over access to the sensitive personal information of millions of Americans, including financial data.
I can't. What I'm about to say, I mean with all sincerity, okay? I would rather have foreign adversaries have access to my sensitive information than this guy, okay? Like, I'd rather have the CCP have access to this information than Elon Musk. That is how little I trust Elon Musk, okay? The fact that he is going to have access to, like, Social Security data and information, like Social Security numbers, is so insane. What's, I guess, the most shocking aspect of this is that he also looks like a villain. He sounds like a villain. He is a billionaire who engages in space travel and also has a brain chipping operation. And so many people are just like, nah, that's my king. That's my God king. It's great. I want him to have access to all matter of information. I would love to use his credit card payment system that he will inevitably create off of all of this data that he probably will keep certainly secure. Like, he unironically does everything that people think Bill Gates is doing and hate Bill Gates for. There are plenty of good reasons to hate Bill Gates. People hate Bill Gates because of the things that they think Bill Gates is doing that Elon Musk is actually doing. But those very same people love Elon Musk. Make this make sense.
And employment information.
President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the DOGE team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration.
Musk's team has also requested access to a data system at the IRS that retains Americans' personal tax information and includes their tax filings and bank statements. Democrats pushing back.
If you think there's fraud, then why did you fire all the inspector generals? Okay? If you think there's something we can do here, then let's do this the right way.
Across the federal government, firings touching more than a dozen agencies, from the CDC to Veterans Affairs, and even the Federal Aviation Administration. At the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the union warning they expect a 50% cut to the workforce by May. Sources tell us 15,000 workers at the IRS have been identified for possible termination, with tax season just around the corner. Victoria tells us she was laid off from the Forest Service in Montana.
Elon Musk doesn't even know my job exists, right? But like, we do a lot. I mean, I'm a public servant and I do this job because I love it. So yeah, I'm devastated, and my whole community lost their jobs, and I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Other government workers like Elizabeth Anaskevich, who works for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, says she doesn't even have enough information to file for unemployment.
We were just basically tossed out on the streets. And so that has been.
I'm calling it. Joe Rogan is going to say that he'd love for Elon to have access to his bank account because he knows money. Oh God. We are progressively getting dumber and dumber, dude.
Been angering and heartbreaking. And our pay stopped the day we got the termination letter. So we're all without a paycheck as of Tuesday.
I really did not think that people would be like this open to, you know how like everyone was angry about AI possibly cutting jobs and stuff? Like there was a decent amount of people That's why Andrew Yang got any motion whatsoever. Okay, so the difference is like instead of AI, it's a bot cutting the jobs, a South African bot cutting the jobs. But as long as he says the right things, you're like, hell yeah, brother, that's good. So when does the economy crash after firing all these workers? Because that's kind of inevitable to firing hundreds of thousands from the well-paying public sector work. We already have a massive underemployment crisis in this country where everyone basically has to do gig economy work and barely make ends meet, or even do gig economy work on top of the existing jobs that they have. Okay. And in spite of all of that, the last remaining like middle class jobs that are readily available with like decent benefits that still don't pay a lot, mind you, are going away. America is just going to be a collection of, maximum 100,000 millionaires and billionaires. And then everyone else in the country is going to be straight up the underclass, the permanent underclass.
So the administration has not provided any clarity on just how many federal workers have been let go, but they did give every single federal agency a deadline of today to let go of any probationary workers. George.
And Rachel, the president has made a controversial pick to be the top federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, this is an important role, and the president has nominated Ed Martin. Martin has pushed false claims about the 2020 election. He defended January 6 rioters in court, and then he ultimately, in his interim role, helped dismiss those cases and fire the prosecutors who brought those charges. He will have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate to keep that role permanently, George.
Hey, Rachel, thanks very much.